Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. It is our All In review. I almost said All Out. Before we get into it, just your general thoughts. What did you think of the show, sir?
It was like really, really good. One thing that I thought of as I was watching it, the whole show was it was like the wrestling was obviously good, the stories were good, but it was just fun. Like it was an enjoyable show.
Yes.
Like all the matches were, even the worst matches, Chris Jericho and Hook were fun. Like everything about it, like there was nothing that you're like, oh, I'm annoyed by this, so I don't like it, or I'm bored by it. Like it was a good wrestling show, but it was also just fun. Fun stuff happened. I loved it.
And I think I texted this to you during the show. It felt big this year. Like, I mean, it felt big last year, but it was like one of those like, oh, can we do this? Oh, we did it. Now this year it was like, oh, this is going to be an every year thing. You know, like it felt special.
Yeah. Especially because they booked the next one for Texas. It is like now it's like it's definitely their WrestleMania. Like you're booking it a year in advance. You know what's going to happen. Like, it was, and all the matches felt huge. The entrances felt huge. I liked the stage. Like I liked the stage last year. It was pretty cool. Yeah. With like the screens in the tunnel, but the stage this year, just it being so huge and the ramp being so long, like it just felt like a big deal. It was really cool. Great show.
Did you happen to notice it? It made me laugh every single time. All of the like if you came out of the babyface tunnel, every babyface managed to somehow trip on the Bucks elevator.
I noticed that. Yeah.
On the corner, they didn't like stumble, but like they would step on it and it would rock. Yeah. And like they kind of
I noticed that diamond shape in this floor the whole show. Every time someone came out, I was like, oh, that's a trapdoor.
Yeah. And it was every baby face stepped on the corner. I laughed every single time. It was just a fun show all around.
Yeah, I like the stage. I like all of it. It was fun. My favorite, we'll talk about it later, but like my favorite was when Orange Cassidy came out and he has his like one little pyro. And then they cut to outside the stadium and like their drone shot and one little pyro shoots off the top of the building. Good. That was incredible. I loved it.
It was absolutely incredible how awesome that was. Like no joke when I asked this question, was that literally part of Taylor Swift's stage?
I think at least the underlaying aspect of it was, because apparently she was they booked the stadium and then like AEW booked the stadium and then Taylor Swift did like 3 shows and then wanted to book 3 more shows or something. And because AEW has a certain amount of time before and after their show for setup, they had to ask AEW, like, is it okay if we fit in another couple Taylor Swift shows? Right. And they agreed. And that meant, like, I don't know if the actual screens and stuff were hers. I doubt that they were. I don't know. But I think like the setup, like the rigging and the whatever, I think that was hers. Like, because it looked similar to her setup. Like I looked it up online, what her setup looked like, and it was in the same spot with the same kind of screens. So
that, like, first off, imagine a power move if Tony Khan was like, no.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that.
No, Taylor Swift would just buy AEW and just
and light it on fire.
Yeah. Because she could do that.
Yeah. I mean,
she has powers.
She has powers and money.
Yes.
So anyways, the show started off with a bang. I was surprised they started with the trios match, but I mean, or trios ladder match, excuse me. But you know, it's, as we said, their WrestleMania. You gotta set the bar.
Yeah, and it made sense. It got the crowd like super pumped and into it. So yeah, it was a good choice.
And like, obviously, like the crowd and everything, like this was their second one. Not that everybody was exactly the same, but I noticed more people were in their seats earlier this year than last year.
Yeah, it still kind of took a while. I noticed in the first match when they had when they would do like the wide shot where you could see the titles hanging up, you could see there was a whole section that was empty. And I was like, oh, that looks really bad. Like the internet's going to have a field day with a whole empty section.
Yeah.
But it filled in after, like, as that match progressed, it filled in But yeah, I don't know why. I guess it's a huge building. It takes a long time to get in and out of it. But
and getting something to eat or
yeah.
just being there.
So now that I
Go ahead.
mentioned it, the whole time I was thinking during this whole match, weren't the belts too low?
Yeah, I have a note here.
Yeah, I think they
was
like.
literally
It
just
seemed
gonna
like you
say that.
climbed up like 3 rungs on the ladder and you could just grab them. Like they were way too low.
Yeah,
And those are
and
small ladders most of the time. Like they weren't using like the 10-foot ladder. They were using like a 5-foot ladder, and you
they
could
weren't
still
using
easily get them.
the Juice Robinson ladder that he brought out at the end.
Yeah, yeah, that
Which
one
is,
that hit the belts.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It was like Looney Tunes comically big. Like it was.
But like
Actually
I've seen WWE do that, where like they have the small ladders, and then someone brings in a huge ladder near the end of the match. But like the huge ladder is kind of the ladder you need to reach the belts because they're so high up. Like that's kind of how they delay the match, because there's always the problem in ladder matches that like someone has to come up with a reason why they can't just walk up the ladder. So the reason in a lot of ladder matches is, that you need the bigger one. But like this one, I'm pretty sure if a guy stood on the other guy's shoulders, he would have been able to reach the belt.
Yeah, they looked way lower. I wonder if that was like obviously they're on a crane and they could have raised them, but like I wonder if it was like, oh, like the rigging is usually X amount of high, so we put them here, and they just like have like a setting, and that rigging was lower or something.
Or maybe I was thinking maybe like the camera, like the shots of the camera, they had to, in order to get the ring and the belts in the same shot, they had to have it at a certain height, or I don't know.
Especially with I bet you're right, especially with the roof.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, that roof was incredible. Just a giant black roof with giant white AEW on it.
It looked cool.
It did look super cool.
When they did the overhead shots, you could just see the AEW. It was cool.
That's what I was just going to say. It was awesome for like marketing.
Yeah.
It was anyways. I thought it was super cool that, Pac got his moment early on, other than the ending, but him coming out and being Pac and deep down he wanted to just let out oh, this is awesome, but he had to be
or even smile, but he had to be angry the whole time.
I hate this.
I hate how there's 50,000 people here cheering for me. It's terrible.
Right. And my other favorite thing of Pac for the night was at the end of the show, whenever he was standing in the ring with Claudio and Yuta just staring at them. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It was so fun. Anyways, yeah, I thought that was awesome that, he had his moment. Did you notice that once the tables and Calamity started, how smooth the extra refs were at getting the debris out of the way?
Yeah, it was good. That's always a fear when they have a ladder match. It's you always worry someone's going to land on a bent ladder or a table leg or something. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I don't know if, they decided they were going to have a team from now on to do this, or if it was just a thing that happened naturally, but kudos to that ref squad, because, a table would break and then, literally they would be in the ring pulling it out. It was,
yeah. And it's
really well
no
done.
Offense to AEW, but that seems a little unlike AEW. They're a great company, but their reffing and their mistakes to non-mistakes ratio is kind of high, right?
Yes.
So it was good that they realized that, and they were like, oh no, we can't. This is our biggest show. We can't have someone hurt themselves falling on a table leg or something. So yeah,
right. Which speaking,
and I love Christian running away.
Oh, that was hilarious. It was just we're gonna get to him and how just amazing. As you said earlier, these teams set the bar super high.
Yeah.
Would you have ever guessed that in 2024 that Christian would be, without making a fool of himself every week, like without being the bottom of jokes, that he would be a viable television wrestler in 2024.
I mean, he's always. I saw someone say something that he's, first of all, it's been an incredible career renaissance for Christian.
100%.
But I saw someone say when I think he thrives on, first of all, a less structured environment. And then I think he thrives on spite more than a lot of people, because when he left WWE the first time, he was like getting a singles push. Then he got pushed back down the card. He was supposed to get a match with John Cena, I think, and then ended up not happening. And his contract ran out. So he left and he went to TNA, and he did like an amazing job there. And then ended up coming back to WWE a few years later. And then same thing here. Like he came back, he was retired, came back at the Royal Rumble. They didn't offer him a contract. And he was like, fine, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I think he thrives on that, like, I'm going to prove them wrong thing. Like, I'm going to show them that I'm better than they ever thought I was. And this is great. Like, he's incredible.
It's so over the top, but like just pro wrestling enough. If that makes any sense. Like, I mean, come on, a guy wrestles in a sleeveless turtleneck. It should be hilarious. I mean, it is, but
it's not. Yeah,
exactly.
and him like yelling at Killswitch to be like, no, you don't get to climb the ladder. I'm going to climb the ladder, and then failing at it. Like he knows so well how to, like, even the little things where he says like, everyone be quiet while he's talking, and he knows that they're going to boo him. Like, he's so good at knowing what's going to make people boo you if the crowd's not reacting. He knows how to like do something small to get them to react the way he wants them to.
And that's what I was just gonna say. And it's the way he wants them to, and they don't even realize it, or we don't even realize it. Like,
because it's fun, because he's like, everyone, all wrestling fans or all AEW fans have realized, oh, this is a great run for him. He's doing a great job. He's entertaining, whatever. But he still gets booed. It's hard to be a guy who people deep down like, because everyone kind of likes him. Like, oh, he's overcome so much, and he's proving everybody wrong, and we want to cheer for him. But we boo him because like he's just good at getting us to boo him. Like, he's just good at it.
Yeah. What a freaking run. And like everybody that you would have guessed that, like, on this run, like, I mean, he's with Killswitch, and nothing against Killswitch and nothing against Nick Wayne, but like, okay, we're gonna put these three random people together. And only one of them is going to talk, and one might be a dinosaur. Like, it makes
how cool sense. Is this for Nick Wayne? I was thinking, how old is he? He's pretty young still.
19.
Yeah, he might be 20 now, but still.
Well, yeah.
How, like, I saw when he came out, he kind of had a look in his eyes where he looked around the crowd and was like, oh, like, it was cool.
Yeah. What a. Just
he's not like. I'm not trying to take a shot at him. He's not a superstar now. He needs Christian. He needs the team that he's in. He definitely needs them. But like, he's 20 years old. So in 10 years, like, he'll be 30 with, 12 years of TV wrestling experience. Like, he's going to be incredible.
And imagine, like, when the obvious breakup takes place, like, and Christian puts him over. Like, the roof's going to blow off the place.
Yeah.
But anyways, going on, I know I packing. Did you pick Patriarchy, correct?
I did. Yeah. This is the only one I think we both got wrong.
Okay. Correct.
Speaking of which, I would like to just stake my claim to being the champion once again.
You are the champion once again. And it was the three matches that we picked differently were the ones that you won. Yeah. So that's, you beat me by 3.
Yeah, it was not even close. I dominated.
It was not. It was, because we tied everywhere else. So like I'd never even remotely had a lead. So it was, as soon as you got the first one, I was like, oh, I better pick up. Nope, I lost the next 2.
Yeah, I didn't expect. I mean, I should have expected Pac, but neither of us picked him. But I'm glad they won.
Same. And this was the only match, like what we talked about on the pre-show, like going in, everything made sense, everything had story, everything. This, I mean, it helped BCC and Pac a little bit, but they didn't need it. But it didn't hurt anybody either.
Right.
Just House of Black. Patriarchy is, I mean, we're going to get back to them a little bit later. Everybody loves the Bang Bang Gang. Like,
yeah,
they're almost would you say that they're almost like acclaimed level?
Yeah,
Like no matter what they do.
Yeah, I was
interrupted you
thinking
there.
of what they're going to do now, and I don't know because like they're not going to. I feel like they're not going to keep going after the trios titles, but
Yeah,
I don't know. But
I
like
agree.
yeah, they're super over, and like their entrance is cool. Their theme song is great. Like
Yeah,
everyone loves them.
I think we're gonna have a little renaissance with the tag division.
I
So
hope so.
you know, well, I mean, we have the grizzled young veterans here, and I mean, they're gonna be awesome. MXM is here. It's tag division is gonna be gnarly in a few months.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. That's
It's just going to be the Bucks just still not wrestling and just having the belts.
Oh, they could do that all day. It's just the other teams. As long as the other teams.
If they were there all day not wrestling and just like taunting everybody else, that's cool. And like if there was a whole bunch of other wrestlers just having great matches all the time and the Bucks were like, well, you got to work extra hard to get a match against us, that would be fine. The problem is the Bucks also kind of forgot about the tag titles, right? Like no one's talking about the tag titles. That's the problem I have with it. Not that they're not wrestling. Like if they were just chicken heels who were just not going to wrestle because they don't have to, that's fine. Like that would work.
I agree. I can't disagree with you there.
But yeah, hopefully the tag titles and the trios titles have kind of. You're right. They should kind of split them up. One should only be on one show, and one should be like the trios title. It's kind of is already. The trios titles are mostly on Collision.
Yes.
And the tag division's mostly on Dynamite, but because they kind of do need to establish them separately from one another.
Yeah, I agree. And that would just be better for everything all around. I mean, there's only so much. Well, until this media rights deal, as of right now, there's only so much time on AEW TV. But anyways, Pac and the BCC win the match. I obviously it was great for Pac to have his moment yet again, and for Claudio also being from. I mean, he's not from the United Kingdom, but he's from Europe, and that's big. It has to be big for him. I mean, considering being a mainstay in the United States. I mean, he probably had family and everything there too.
And it's a cool thing for everybody. Like it's a cool thing for people like Nick Wayne to be in front of a crowd like this because when did they ever expect to be in front of a crowd this size? But it is cool for people like Claudio because when you leave WWE, right, rightly or wrongly, like they're a huge company.
Right.
And when you leave WWE, there's probably a thought in the back of your mind like, oh, I'm never going to be in a crowd like that again. I'm never going to wrestle in a stadium like that again because WWE is the only company that does that. And now it's cool that he could go and he could be in front of 50,000 people and wrestle for a different company. It's just cool.
It is. And I think they're going to be good with the belts too. I mean, I have no problem with any of them as wrestlers. I mean, they're all good wrestlers, but they're also like, they kind of make sense as a team.
So, yeah. I feel like we'll talk about this more later, but I think that Danielson and Mox are both kind of going to drift away. They kind of already have drifted away from the BCC. And it's going to be Claudio and Yuta and probably Pac just as a team. I don't know if they'll call them the BCC or they'll call them something else, but they do kind of fit.
Yeah, I agree. Now we're gonna move on to the masterpiece of the evening, the women's world title, which
the first masterpiece of the evening.
Well, yeah,
there was more than one.
Absolutely. I thought it was a bold move putting it second.
I was surprised. I didn't expect it to be there. I thought they were probably gonna, if they're gonna do a women's match, that it would be the Mercedes Britt Baker match in second.
Right.
But
I mean, and just second in general, like as far as wrestlers go, they do not like to go second.
Right.
So of course,
but they had a great match. The crowd was totally into it.
Oh,
it was great.
My first note is the crowd didn't lose any steam. I mean, they were ready. This match was first off, we're going to start with Mariah walking down to the ring and immediately slapping her mother.
Yeah, credit to Mariah May because she was the home, not hometown, but home country star.
Right.
And she could have easily got cheered.
Right.
Because it's that she was like, no, I'm going to be the heel. I'm going to be, what's the worst thing I can do? Oh, I can invite my mom to watch the show and then slap her.
Correct.
So, yeah, it was like she knows, quote unquote, no pun intended. She knows her role in this match. Yeah. She's going to be the heel. And it was great.
And I think you said like you heard, I think you said Jericho saying it, that a heel should have no redeeming, like positive values or whatever.
Yeah, Jericho, when he turned heel, he said, "I want to take anything that people would have cheered before and get rid of that thing."
And her slapping her mother, like,
Yeah,
well, exactly what you said is she totally negated any cheers that she would have got.
yeah,
Like, I mean, that was just, wow, what a very well done move.
yeah.
The false finishes were great. The pacing of the match was great.
And it was the right mix of a bunch of different stuff. It was the right mix of like just violence and
yes.
wrestling and character work. Like Tony still, she wasn't super over. She's so. Well, I have a point about a similar topic later, but she's really good at, like, her character is crazy and over the top, but she's
Yeah.
really good at. She wasn't when she first started doing the gimmick, but she got used to it. Of like she could still be a serious wrestler and still
Yeah.
seem like a threat and still seem like she's talented and a good wrestler, a dangerous wrestler, but she's still timeless Tony Storm. She does a really good job. When she first got this character, her first few matches of it, you could tell she was kind of like, oh, how much do I play up the timelessness?
Right.
And does that take away from the match? And the first couple of matches it did, because she was like kind of extra silly and it hurt a little bit, but now she's like nailed it, how to be a character and still a wrestler. Like she's great.
And we have said this for years, like she's now entering that Danhausen, Orange Cassidy zone where she knows how timeless Tony Storm will react to just about any situation.
Yeah.
So she's going to be able to turn that on, and just that we have a lot of good TV coming.
I think she's going to go a little jokery. Did you see that video of her leaving the stadium?
Yes.
Where she kind of like skipped away and laughed. Like it seemed a bit like, to me, like the new Joker movies.
Which they're great. And if they do that, my God.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be something like that where she snaps and like, yeah, that'll be. I think she's going to take some time off and she deserves it.
She does deserve it.
But whenever she comes back, it's going to be fun. And Luther was back.
And yes, he was. I thought it was really cool how, but before this match started, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm sorry. How Martha Hart came out and explained just in case people forgot, like the champions for the day, how they got their shot to the tournament. And
yeah,
it was kind of, or not kind of, I liked how it was the full AEW year.
Yeah.
Like it was, everything was like full circle.
Yeah.
When the Glamour Mariah May got the pin, what was your initial reaction?
I mean, we both picked her. I kind of expected it, but when she got it, I loved how Tony could have hit her with the shoe and then didn't, and it was her downfall, but not directly her downfall. Like
yes.
It was great. I was happy for Mariah May. She's done, like, we talk all the time about how great Tony Storm is, but like Mariah May, like we said before, like a year ago, I just knew she was a person. That's all I knew about her.
Right.
Like that she existed as a human and was a good wrestler. And now she's a main event level. Like she's a fixture of the company now. Like she's done incredible for herself.
Yeah. My note here is this is very rare. It says Tony Storm is so over that she loses at the biggest event of the year and the crowd still chants her name. Like,
yeah,
like that was, I mean, all the credit to Mariah May, but also to Tony Storm. Not many people can pull that off.
I feel like Tony Storm is now like the, fourth, maybe third or fourth or fifth biggest star in AEW.
I'd agree to that in a second.
I'd say like Danielson, Swerve, MJF, probably Hangman, and then Tony Storm.
I might even put her above Hangman, but
yeah, I might too. In terms of like crowd reactions and people caring about her, like obviously someone like Mercedes is a bigger name, but in terms of just the way the crowd reacts to them, Tony Storm is right up there. And she's not far from like, when like Swerve's music hits or MJF music hits and the crowd immediately pops, she's up there.
Yeah. When the classical hits, everybody knows. Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
She's great.
I think we'll hit this one a little bit light. It was the FTW Championship on the line. Jericho versus Hook. This match served its purpose. As far as, I don't know why it needed to be on the main show, but whatever. Hook got his belt back. I mean,
I'm choosing to take the positive spin on this and say there was a time not that long ago when the women's matches were the match where everyone was like, I'm going to go get a snack or go to the washroom.
Yeah.
And we have progressed so far as a society and as a wrestling company in AEW that the women's match is the match everyone wanted to see. And then this match happens and everyone's like, yeah, I don't care. So I'm gonna choose to look at that as a positive, not in the fact that I didn't really care, but it was fine. It was fine.
It was fine.
If they had not been feuding for 6 months leading up to it, like if this was like a 2-month feud, I would have been happy with it. But like I said last week, like Hook already beat Jericho like months and months and months ago. So it seemed a little like, okay. And yeah, he got his belt back. Okay. Like, it's just, I don't know.
And I mean, Tony Khan tweeted out or X'd out, whatever it's called. Yeah, I don't know. That you had to trust him for Dynamite this week. And there was going to be this like all-star 8-man match.
Yeah.
And all it was at the end, now Hook and Roderick Strong are feuding. I don't know why it had to be an 8-man match. Like, couldn't Roderick Strong just come out and say,
they could have just easily done that without involving Jericho's guys. Like, if they wanted Roderick Strong and a Hook feud is fine. Like, I'll watch it. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
It could be great. I don't know. But there was no reason for it to be this like 8-man tag. They could have easily just had, Roderick Strong against Hook and the same ending where Hook wins, but Roderick Strong's legs under the rope and no one saw it. And that's the feud.
Exactly.
There was no need for when that first tweet came out of like that they're gonna have an 8-man tag Jericho's guys against Hook. I was like, really?
Yeah.
They're continuing this. And I know it seems like now they're not continuing it, but like there was no need to continue it past All In. That they never should have interacted with each other in any capacity ever again.
Right.
The only thing I will give Jericho credit for is he remembers the past and is still mad at Orange Cassidy for wrecking his jacket. That was fun.
Hilarious. That was hilarious.
But like, we'll talk about this more when we talk about Dynamite. But like, again, just go away for 6 months and people will be happy to see you. And I kind of hate that on this week's show, he was doing the hi guys thing and the crowd was like waving back. I'm like, no, don't get it over. I'm mad that it's getting over.
Yeah.
I hate it. Like,
yeah, I agree. Still my favorite thing from this whole Jericho learning tree thing was from like 2 months or more than that, about 5 months ago, whenever Brian Keith was like, that baby better respect Chris Jericho when he's born.
Part. Him yelling the baby better respect Chris Jericho was the best part. It's been all downhill since that.
Agreed.
That was the highlight.
That was 1000% the highlight of this whole whatever it is. And I mean, the bar is not that high, but that's all they have to beat is that.
My favorite thing was I showed you the comment. It was someone on Reddit who said, see, people are looking badly on this. A year ago, Hook was just a guy wrestling an All In, winning back the FTW title. And now, thanks to this feud with Jericho, he's, I see the problem.
I mean, like I said, it is what it is. It was a fun match.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
But whatevs.
I like that they didn't make it like, because there was already so many chaos hate-filled matches. They kind of had some fun with it, with like the cricket stuff, and like that was fine. Like Jericho's like, that's the thing. Jericho's decent in the ring still. He's pretty good. He's fine.
Yeah.
Right. His characters can sometimes even be good. He just doesn't need to be all over everything all the time. That's the only thing.
Just look, we're going to get into it at the end, but like, Mox hasn't been here since Forbidden Door. And it hasn't been that long, but it seems like Mox hasn't been here for like a year.
And he came back with like a different theme and a different entrance, and everyone's like, oh my God, he's Hack, and like super excited to see him. Yeah.
Exactly. And it seems like it was forever, and it's been 9 weeks. Like or a little more, but whatever.
Yeah, Jericho doesn't be gone for a year, but yeah, I don't know. He doesn't need. There was a time, and I thank Chris Jericho for everything. Like he was important to AEW because he was one of the first huge names that joined up with them, that they probably wouldn't have got a TV deal without him.
Agreed.
Because Warner Brothers doesn't know who the Young Bucks are, or Hangman Page, or even Cody, right? But they probably knew who Jericho was in terms of wrestling. So yeah, that was important. In the beginning, he needed to be world champion. In the beginning, he needed to be on every show, because that's, people would be like, oh, Jericho, yeah, I know him, I'll watch the show he's on. But like, they don't need that anymore. I'm not saying they don't need him at all. He doesn't need to be everywhere all the time. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah, we've talked about it too much already.
Yeah. Well, we're moving right along to the tag titles.
Yes.
In my opinion, and this is it doesn't make it awful. This was the worst match on the card, in my opinion. It wasn't a bad match. It was the worst match on this card.
I surprisingly enjoyed it. I think because my standards were so low that I did not care about this at all. Like I've said on the show, like this was the one match I didn't care about, because like whoever won, I'd be like, okay, like it wouldn't matter. At least the Hook Jericho match, I was like, oh, if Hook wins, maybe their feud is over. But with this one, I was just like, eh. But the match was fun. They're all good wrestlers. It was good. I enjoyed it. Like I wasn't bored while I was watching it. Like it's not like some Jericho matches where I pick up my phone and start scrolling. Like I watched it and it was good.
Yeah, like I mean, we sat here and we ate snacks, and like I think we were like BS during it. Like I don't want to say we weren't totally into it, because like we were, but I don't know. I just wasn't into it. And
it was fun. If this had been like a regular weekly show match, it's fine. It'd be good.
Yeah, I could see that.
If they had this on like a Dynamite or something, you'd be like, oh yeah. If this was the main event on a Dynamite in July, I'd be like, yeah, good match.
Yeah.
But I like all the teams. They're all good wrestlers. I like FTR. The Bucks I have issues with, but I'm not going to deny that they're good in the ring, and they're good characters. Like they are. The Acclaimed is super over still. I like the Acclaimed. They have their problems too, but they're good. Yeah. But like this feud and this angle just didn't work for me.
I think I'm right there with you. And just real quick on a kind of a personal level, does Max make you nervous every time he raps?
Yeah. Especially because I've seen his like Twitter account or his X account, and sometimes he says things where like, yeah, you shouldn't have said that, buddy. Like, I'm just like,
like obviously, like, I mean, I think he's been suspended. Don't quote me on that. Because of his raps.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. This one, and again, I understand that it's England and there's different laws, and it was pay-per-view. So it didn't really bother me. It didn't bother me at all, actually. But when it's on regular TV, I'm always scared, because I think he's going to like get himself fired. I think that's where I'm at.
And I'm just like, there's edgy, but I don't think he knows how to be edgy and not cross the line. I think he just knows what's edgy is to just say something people don't like. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really edgy. Sometimes you're just being a jerk, right? Like
yeah. And again, I know it's pro
wrestling. Like sometimes his raps are clever. Like he'll rhyme something that's funny, and I think it's clever. But sometimes they're just like crude insults, and I'm like, you can do better than that.
Yeah, and like I said, I know it's pro wrestling, and he walks up to the guys or girls and was like, "Hey, I plan on saying this. It's okay," and they have to okay it. But I understand the shock factor, but it's also not like 1996 anymore.
Yeah, and also the shock factor wears off after a while, right? If every single time he's saying something, you're just like, okay, yeah. Somebody's saying it in a clever way where I don't expect it, and it's funny, but I don't know. The raps have gotten a bit worse, I feel.
I agree. It was better when I don't want to say better, but when they went through that little gimmick where like he had like his like the equipment would fail or he'd have writer's block. Like I thought that was funny.
And I thought that was going to lead to him just not doing it anymore.
Because, exactly.
Like, it always gets rid of it. Every entrance gets old after a while, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that maybe they would just kind of phase it out. But I think they kind of do need to phase it out at this point.
Yeah, like I mean, there's nothing wrong with it per se, but it's time, like it's just time. Anyways,
it's time. Yeah.
The Bucks retain. I had no problem with them retaining. I thought it was dumb how they did, but of course, I mean they kind of have to. like
Yeah.
bend the rules and be, I don't know.
I do still want them to be more like bigger jerks. Like right now they're kind of just annoying. Right? Like they're annoying, but they're not like abusing their power as much as I would like them to be. I would like them to be just like be worse, like be more obnoxious, like not even obnoxious, just like be more spoiled and full of yourselves than they are.
You've been saying this, and I've been meaning to say this, and I've been forgetting, and it just popped back in my head. They need to be. I know that the Bullet Club's like a NWO ripoff, but how like the NWO would just be like, I don't know, like Juventud Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. be in the middle of a match, and you would just hear like, "Hey, oh,
yeah,
going out there," and they would just like, "Wait, what's going on?" Like, just interrupt and just be like, "No, go ahead, get these guys out of here." Like, wouldn't even let the match finish. Like, if the Bucks did things like that, and again, of course, the NWO eventually overdid it and it got dumb, but randomly they would just show up and be like, "Get these jokers out of our ring."
I know people would get mad at it because everyone now on the internet gets mad when anyone loses anything. They're like, they were buried. But like, I know people would be mad. But I would love to see them just like 15 minutes into a match, just be like, sorry, we're going to have to end this one. We only planned it for it to be 15 minutes. So we're going to just move on to the next segment. Oh, the next segment is us giving a 15-minute promo. Like that would be funny. Like I would but not all the time, like not every week. But like every so often, that'd be funny.
Yeah, to just like have them, quote unquote, flex their muscles a little bit.
Yeah. I still want them to have a match where they, defend the tag titles and they lose by pinfall, and then they're like, actually, no, it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. And then if they lose that match, be like, oh, but the second fall had to be a submission. And then when it is, be like, oh, but it had to be a submission outside the ring. Like I want them to do that. That would be fun.
That'd be incredible. It's like the old stupid back in the day N64 games where you'd think you'd have somebody beat,
right?
They would give you another stupid stipulation.
Yeah, I want them to be like they have to do this bigger.
I agree. I also just really aged myself by referencing Nintendo 64.
At least it wasn't like regular, like original Nintendo, the NES.
True. That's very true.
Which it easily could have been.
Yeah, it could have. I was alive for that. Now I don't have many notes on the next match. But this was by far the most fun match of the evening. The Casino Gauntlet.
Yes.
Which just fun. Like this match was screamed pro wrestling.
I just love the match type. I said it last week, I think, that this should be like the All In match. Don't do it all the time. It'll get old. Like just at All In, this is a way to get a bunch of people on the show and to have maybe some surprises or some debut. You treat it like the Royal Rumble where like somebody might come back. You might get a random signing. Like because the way the match goes, I love that the fact that even the intervals between guys coming out are not the same. So sometimes it's like 2 minutes in between, and then some it's like 5 seconds. Like and it also works because we'll talk about this more when we talk about the rest of the show. There was England has a curfew on their show, on their events, right? So this event had a hard end. So if you have this match and the show is running long, you can just speed it up. You can just be like, oh yeah, you're going to come out after 2 minutes, come out after 30 seconds. Like, and it's fine. Like it's a fun match. It's an exciting match. You never know what's going to happen. It was the perfect way to put Ricochet into the match because he didn't have to lose. He could come out and still be cool and do a bunch of stuff and not get pinned, but also not win the match. So yeah, I love this match. They should do it every year at All In.
I totally agree. Now, Ricochet has said something. He says he feels free again. Like, did they not let him do like his like whole move set in WWE?
I think they did, but I mean WWE is just general wrestling styles, not.
No, that's true right? too. That's true too.
I think that I don't think they probably went and said you can't do whatever flip you want to do, but I feel like they probably just by being in WWE he kind of toned it down. I don't know if they explicitly told him not to, or it was just like the style of WWE is just not to do that stuff.
And I could see that.
And I realized when he cut a promo they showed on Dynamite, it had like a backstage promo. I realized I don't think I've ever heard him speak.
Oh,
because in WWE I don't think he ever talked. Not that I don't watch their shows weekly, so maybe he did. I could be completely wrong, but I don't remember him ever talking.
That's hilarious. It's like Claudio. Like the first time he cut a promo, we're like, oh my god, the dude's good.
Yeah.
Just what an entrance. Like, did he ever have a Mania moment?
I think he might have in like one of the ladder matches. Like maybe they had like a 6-man ladder match or something. I don't remember for sure. I don't know.
Okay, so there's at least a possibility he's been in front of a big crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, like, wouldn't that be like some irony, be it WWE for like whatever 5 years, 8 years, however long he was there, and never get on like the big show, sign with AEW, and then boom.
It's also like a good PR move for AEW. Not that he's not a good wrestler. I don't like. That's not why they signed him. They signed him for his wrestling. But it's a good PR move for AEW because the tide kind of is turning to WWE now, right? Like Ethan Page went to WWE. There's rumors Ricky Starks is going to go to WWE. Jade Cargill, CM Punk. Like it kind of felt like, oh, everyone came to AEW when it was starting, and then now they're like all leaving. So it looked bad for AEW, but the fact that they're like, no, we can still get guys over here.
Yeah,
I think it means something. It looks good.
And just this match was so fun.
It was fun. All of it was fun. I liked. I didn't love. We'll talk about it. I want to talk about one more thing first.
Yeah.
What do you think of Funny Okada?
Funny Okada is incredible.
See, I like Funny Okada when he's not wrestling. Like I like that he has a character. I like that he's like when he's doing the dance with Mercedes or when he's like when he was working on doing the pyro or whatever it was that time. Like I like that. That's fun. I think he suffers from the same problem that I think the Bucks suffer from is now he's not serious ever. If that makes sense.
That's what I like about him because it's his real personality. I think he should be serious
sometimes. I think he should be serious sometimes.
And I think it'll get to that. I think this is just him being like having to be super uber serious in New Japan for so many years. Like, I think they're just letting him like, okay, get this out of your system because you're a funny human being.
Because it is the same kind of thing that I feel like the Bucks suffer from. Like even when the Bucks are doing, violent stuff, they're stabbing you with thumbtacks or whatever. They're still like jokey while they do it. And I'm like, no, like they can be jokey 80% of the time and then be like, now they get serious. Like someone like Orange Cassidy, he's silly, but then there's a point in the match where he gets serious, right? And he's serious now. My go-to for perfect funny character, serious wrestler is always Kurt Angle because he would do like the dumbest. He'd look like the biggest idiot when he was not wrestling. He'd wear a dumb cowboy hat and he'd drink milk and he'd look like a moron. But then like you knew, oh, when he wrestles, he's going to be serious. It just he's a dork who is an amazing wrestler. I would love it if Okada's gimmick was he's a silly, funny guy who when he gets in the ring is then serious. But like the rest of the time, he can be as funny as he wants. Like he is funny. So he should get to use that. I don't know. It feels a little weird that he's just funny all the time. But you're right. It probably is just like a transition.
Well, but I now agree with you. I want him to be like Kurt Angle. Like you swayed me. Like
I want him to be funny when he's not wrestling.
Right.
And then like, oh, but when he's in the ring,
the switch is flipped and he's just like an animal. And then
right.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want from him because like he can do both things. Like I didn't know he was funny, but he is. So I'm not saying don't ever be funny because he is funny. So do it. But I would like to see him like when he started off the match and he like who was he tearfully hugging? Was it Nigel McGuinness?
Yeah, which we have to talk about that.
That's also cool. When he he tearfully hugged him, and that was funny because then he made a face while he was doing it. Like that was fine.
Yeah.
But then he should have got just been serious and just been like, okay, now the match has started. I'm going to be mean. I think that would have been better. But anyway.
Speaking of Nigel McGuinness, what a return. Cool. Totally unexpected. And we're obviously now going to get Nigel McGuinness versus Danielson.
I hope so. I mean, I feel like that was all the rumors pointed to. That was the rumor for last year at All In, and then Danielson was hurt. So I felt bad for Nigel McGuinness when Danielson got hurt because I'm like, oh, that was his chance to like have his big match, and then now it's gone, and that's not his fault. Like someone just got hurt. So it's really cool that now he gets to do it.
I really hope that happens. But the winner of the Casino Gauntlet match, which was incredible, Christian Cage, because of it, well, he was Luchasaurus for like a second, and then he's back to kill switch. I
Yeah,
believe.
see, that was I'm happy with Christian winning. My
Yes.
problem with is he should have been Luchasaurus for longer.
Yeah.
He should have come out and like beat up a bunch of other guys who aren't Christian and like taken them out and been like, oh, Luchasaurus is back. He's gonna win this, and then not taken out Christian and turn back. Like I feel like he punched like one person and then was like, I'm actually in kill switch the whole time. Like they didn't build up the crowd being super excited to see Luchasaurus back, and then like the disappointment of realizing he wasn't back. Like they could have stretched that out.
I wonder if that was one of those things that, going back to what you said, like if it was maybe supposed to be like 10 minutes longer.
Yeah.
At the end there, and then they were like, "Oh, hurry up! Oh, well, now we got to go switch."
Yeah, it might have been like, let's just go to the ending. Yeah,
right.
They wanted to rush it because I feel like that would have had a lot more held a lot more weight if he was like, oh, he went and beat up Okada and Nigel McGuinness and Ricochet, and like Luchasaurus is back. He's finally gonna strike out on his own. Oh no, he's not. That would have been better than like, it's Luchasaurus. Nope, not Luchasaurus. Kill switch. But Christian winning is good. I'm happy with Christian winning.
Yeah.
If anyone can do a great job because his title shot is whenever he wants it, right?
So I believe so.
If anyone can do a great job of like taunting whoever has the title, it's Christian. Like I'm not necessarily gonna say that I'm cashing in, but I'm just gonna tell you I'm still here. Like that would be, good stuff. He's gonna do great.
I hope there is just a video package of him with the contract, and he calls out Jack Perry, and he's like, "So Jack, who do you think you are? I earned my spot. You and then
that'd be fun.
Throw back to their little thing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh, definitely. So, international title. Excuse me. Will Ospreay versus the champion MJF. I mean, this match was everything that we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Will Ospreay and MJF are just on another level of all around pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
And excuse me.
Like Ospreay's up there with big pops when this song hits, people go nuts.
Oh,
he's up there, especially at this show, but just in general.
I mean, his freaking entrance was sponsored by Assassin's Creed. I mean, think of how far AEW has come. Like, that's nuts.
I loved his entrance. I could have done without the game drops on November 15th flags that were there. But, like, other than that, it was cool.
Right. And, of course, they had to put that on.
Of course, they had to put that in there. Like, I know that was part of the deal. But, yeah, it was cool. Like, and they made it fit. They weren't just like, we're going to air the Assassin's Creed video and then Will Ospreay's going to come out. They made the video kind of suit both the game and his life. So it was cool.
And did you watch any of the media scrum?
No.
They're now in talks. He's going to be in the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like with that gear on.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's like he based his whole character off of Assassin's Creed. So that's really cool for him.
Like, that's big for AEW. Like, I mean, obviously they'll probably he's going to have ring gear on. It's not going to say like AEW Will Ospreay real big on the back, but everyone's going to know who it is,
And Will Ospreay is a huge star. Right. Like, he's going to be a huge star. He's a huge signing for them. Like, and that's not to put anything, like, not to skip over MJF. He did a great job too. Like, it was a great match. It was overbooked in all the right ways. Like, they had ref bumps and confusion and the cameraman getting hurt and like a whole bunch of stuff, but like it was good. Like it wasn't too much. It was good. It was a great match.
Who did you think Garcia was?
Yeah, I didn't know when it came out. I was like, oh, I have no clue. I honestly didn't know. Who did you think?
I thought it was Moxley.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I don't know why I thought it was Moxley, but I got super excited. I was like, oh my God, it's Mox. It's Mox.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
I know. And then when it was Garcia, I mean, nobody has said anything yet, but to me, that means that he signed.
Yeah. Tony Khan basically said that like he hopes that he resigned or something, but like you don't do this if he's going to leave in 2 months.
Right.
You just like write him off the show. And he's just not on the show anymore. You don't bring him back at your biggest show and put him in a big storyline with one of your bigger stars. Like, I feel like that's almost guaranteed that he's resigned. This is like a MJF, I don't have a contract thing, but like you do. Like
yeah. It's
I loved on Dynamite where like when he came out and he attacked MJF, he stalled for a bit because he knew the security was going to come out, and he kind of just like was like standing there for a bit. Like it was a little awkward, but hey, I like this angle. I'm happy for him.
I was on Threads earlier today, and somebody posted and it made me laugh. Like, you know, Garcia supposedly pawned the ring to get his ticket over to Wembley. So I was like, well, Tony Khan should be mad because that was technically company property. And I was like, yes, he's semantic.
Doesn't Daniel Garcia get paid like as a wrestler? How bad is he with his money that he's like?
It doesn't even have like, you know, a few $100s for.
He knew the show was coming. If he wasn't injured, he was planning on being on the show, and it was just like, I'm not gonna spend. I'm just gonna waste every dollar I have. I won't be able to go.
So I have to steal this man's ring and pawn it for a plane ticket.
Now, do you think that that's the end of the ring? Is the ring gone now?
It better not be, because I'm gonna die on his heel. I'm the only person that likes the ring. I think the ring is dead.
I saw someone say that they think the ring is dead, but they hope that MJF, like, there's a video package of him like going to random pawn shops in Buffalo trying to find it. That would just be funny. Just like going to do you have a ring? And like, oh, I have rings. No, I want a specific ring.
That would be amazing.
And then he finds out someone just bought it, and then has to track down that guy. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be that's like a back in the day Bobby Heenan skit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that would be amazing. Will Ospreay, he wins the title. Tiger Driver 91 is done. Kudos to MJF for taking that move. That's a dumb move. I just don't understand why it needed to be. I mean, I do understand why.
I love because the whole angle was that he didn't want to do it because it was dangerous and whatever, and the kind of underlying sentiment was like, you should do it anyway. And like the real thing is that it was like, it's kind of just, it is dangerous.
Yeah. And
when he did it to Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door, I thought Kenny died. It was bad.
Yeah. It's the dumbest move. Here, I'm going to hold your arms behind your back and drop you directly on your high shoulders / neck. So if I mess up, you're screwed.
There's nothing you can do to help yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the dumbest move. Anyways, we'll segue into a little bit of Dynamite here. Do you think we're going to get Pac, Ospreay, and Ricochet 3-way dance it all out?
I didn't think of that, but yeah, that would be fun. I don't think they'll do it at the pay-per-view. I think they'll give Pac his shot at one-on-one.
Oh, okay.
But I think I think Ricochet will get involved because now he's kind of already involved. That would be fun. I would like that match. And Pac's reverse Hurricanrana on Ospreay. Speaking of crazy moves.
And obviously that cameraman was in the perfect, like he knew where he needed to be.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was just like, Will Ospreay's talking and there's a foot on the screen, then he's upside down and then Pac's standing up. Like it was so well done.
Now I'm going to sound like a old head wrestler, and I don't mean to. Do you think that when they're doing these moves or people getting dropped on their necks and whatever, like say they're all done safely, say there's no risk of them, they're all professionals, there's no risk of anyone actually getting hurt. But do you think it takes the impact out of these moves when they happen frequently? Like the fact that they didn't do the Tiger Driver 91 for a long time and hyped it up made it important, right? Like then
right.
But like if Will Ospreay's getting dropped on his head on the ramp on like a random episode of Dynamite, is that going to make it less important, like seem less impactful over time?
I totally see where you're coming from, and I agree with you, but also they're gonna I'm I'm at a loss for words here. That's too much of the indie style that all these signees are ingrained in.
Yeah.
I because they're not used to the same people seeing them every single night.
Right.
I think that's going to have to be something that is like like, I don't want to say worked out, but maybe the next generation will not do it as much.
Yeah. Or I feel like if they're gonna do it, they have to sell it more. Like Ospreay should be out for until All Out. Like you shouldn't see him again.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, he got seriously injured, and then have it be like, oh, was he going to be able to make it back in time for the pay-per-view? Like they have to sell them more. I sound like a Jim Cornette type guy where I'm ranting about the indie style, and I'm not. Like it looks cool and it's exciting. Like I'm not.
Right.
But I think people need to sell stuff a little bit more. Like you need to be, if you get dropped on your head, you get dropped on your head, and that should be it, right? Like you should be gone for a while, or at least if you're in a match, you should sell that for a while because that's a big move, right? Like I think the problem with even when he did the Tiger Diver to Kenny Omega for Forbidden Door, like that wasn't the end of the match. Like there was like 5 more minutes after that. So like,
oh yeah, that's true.
That should have killed you. So like that should be the end of the match. Agreed, so I don't know. I feel like I'm an old man saying stuff like that. But
no, that's a viable point. That's a great point, actually. The TBS championship was on the line. Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker. Mercedes had a pretty cool entrance, I will say that.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun.
Her dogs were awesome. Okay, was it me or did the people that were supposed to be the Queen's like guard, like their hats were like real like bought them at the Halloween store?
Yeah.
It did not look well at all.
I agree.
Anyway, the match was next level. Britt Baker is very over. Well, not over there. It kind of seemed like they were on Mercedes' side. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, I mean, they're just if you're on the internet, like everybody hates both these people, which is annoying.
Exactly. Yeah.
But people really give Britt Baker a hard time, and I'm not 100% sure why. Because
I don't understand it either.
Yeah, I don't get it, but I know there was a lot of negative sentiment about this match, and like it wasn't the match I thought it was necessarily going to be, but it also wasn't bad. So I don't know what.
Agreed.
It was fine. It was not even the worst match on the show, so I don't get why it got. I mean, I get why it got the reaction that it did because of who's in it. Mercedes and Britt both have audiences who don't like them, but I thought it was fine. Like there was nothing wrong with it.
Excuse me. Yeah, I agree. And this is Britt's first match well, not her first match, but like her first high profile match in a long time. So, I mean, yeah, she was a little slow at the beginning, but I thought by the end they were in full sync, in my opinion. By the end, like it had a slow start, I will say that.
Yeah. I didn't find it as a bad match until I saw everyone complaining that it was a bad match. I wouldn't have thought that on my own.
I agree. And the people that complained, I just like, I mean, it's right to your opinion, but I don't know. I didn't think it was like they made it sound like it was like, oh, you have to unplug your TV for 5 minutes. It was so bad. Like,
yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean, Mercedes retained, and it wasn't like the longest match on the card. I mean, it wasn't short.
I had no problem with it.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see where both of them go after this. It's it was good.
Yeah. Mercedes,
I want to mention now that before we go on to the next match that
continue.
AEW announced they're going to Australia. We talked about last week, and I told you I have a buddy in Australia.
Yeah.
We talked about stadiums, and he was saying he sent me a message in full detail about the stadium, so that's pretty cool.
Oh.
The one we mentioned last week, the Melbourne Cricket Ground holds 100,000 people. And he was saying that's way too big for wrestling because like WWE went there and got like 70,000 or something. So like it's just you can't sell it out. Like it's too big. And he was also saying that it's just too big to see. Like if they did fill it up, like you couldn't. You'd be too far away from anything that you couldn't see anything. But what he did say is where they're holding the event in Brisbane is they hold about 50,000, so that'll be cool.
Oh, okay.
It's a rugby stadium, and rugby's huge there. So, and it's one of the stadiums that they're going to use in the 2032 Brisbane Olympics. So they're going to renovate it, so it's going to be updated probably by the time AEW gets there, which is cool. Wow. And it looks cool for AEW to have a event in a building like an Olympic stadium.
Yeah.
That's going to be really cool.
Awesome.
So. It's a little odd that it's in Brisbane, not like Melbourne or Sydney,
right.
But that makes sense he's saying it makes sense because if it's going to be an Olympic venue, maybe they want it to be in an Olympic venue rather than another city. But that'll be fun.
And I was just going to say that's another selling point that you could dangle in front of someone's nose who has a contract coming up. Like, hey, you can wrestle in an Olympic stadium. Nobody's done that before.
Like it's just really cool to be able to do that. Like, I mean, AEW next year is going to have several stadium shows now, right? They're going to have a Grand Slam in Australia. They're going to have All In, obviously, in Texas. It's going to be a big year, huge year.
Well, Forbidden Door, but in London, but it's not going to be at Wembley, obviously.
Yeah. But still.
But it'll still be in a stadium, though. Like maybe like a, like a
like a 20 or 30. Yeah, I don't know what their stadiums, what else they have there, but like a 20 or 30,000 seat building. Like
I was going to say,
they still have time to come to Skydome too if they want to do a show here.
They will.
Still have time. It's done. The renovations are done, so they can
all in Toronto.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Oh, that'd be great.
Like it's weird. I don't want to be like a ratings guy or a ticket sales guy because whatever.
Right. Also, like you didn't file Freedom of Information Act.
No, I did not. To see how many people actually showed up for All In. No.
Jeez.
It's odd that, and maybe it's because like we've talked about before. AEW pay-per-views never miss; they're always good.
Right.
AEW seems to sell pretty well for pay-per-views. Like the ticket sales do well.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, like people order them. Like they get a lot of views. Dynamite doesn't seem to be doing that. Like it's weird that Dynamite gets like 2,000 or 3,000 people, and then they sell 10,000 for a pay-per-view. Like I don't know. It seems a little odd to me.
And that comes with nobody having cable anymore. Like,
it must
because that's based off a cable rating.
But like, I don't mean the TV rating. I mean like the people in the building, right? Like there's 2,000 or 3,000 people in a building, and then there's 15 for a pay-per-view. I think personally that WWE does it worse. I think it just costs too much. Like when Dynamite was here, like the cheapest ticket was like $90 or whatever. Like that's a lot, right?
See,
and you'll pay that for a pay-per-view, but you might not pay that for a Dynamite.
See, I agree with you, but I don't know if it's just because the Pittsburgh venue is smaller. I got 2 tickets for less than you got 1.
Yeah.
Like
maybe it's because Toronto's nuts. I don't know, but.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you sent me that one thing. It was for Chicago or something, and tickets were like $180 a piece. Like,
yeah.
I got me and Brett tickets, and it was $88 with fees.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And we're sitting in section 104. Like, speaking of,
maybe it's just when they go to bigger cities or bigger stadiums, they have to charge more. I don't. But like when the building they were in here was probably the same size as the one in Pittsburgh. Like it wasn't the Leafs arena. It was an AHL arena.
Right. It was like 9,000 at Pitt Stadium.
Yeah, so I think it's a similar bill. Like this holds like 9,000 or 10,000. Like they had 7, I think, for the show because they rent like half of it's the stage and the screens and stuff, right? But it is just weird to me that AEW, and I don't think it's just a UK thing, but like AEW will sell 50,000 seats in England. They'll probably sell 40 or 50 in Australia. They'll probably sell 40 in Texas. Yeah. But then like Dynamite gets half the arenas in darkness because just no one's there. It's weird. I don't know. I don't understand what it is.
Maybe it has to do with, and again, this isn't me picking on WWE per se, but maybe it has to do with them going to these like other buildings,
right?
That are not in, like, I don't want to say they're not in like the best cities, but like AEW, like they'll go to like the outskirts of Boston. Well, they did go to Boston for Mercedes, but you know what I mean? Like they tend to hit like I don't want to say like when they go to Pittsburgh, they're not in the city, if that makes any sense. Like we're on the outskirts, where WWE comes right to the heart of the city in the big Penguins arena. So maybe going to these other places, like they know that they're only going to get X amount because they're in, they're not in St. Louis, Missouri. They're in somewhere else, Missouri.
Yeah, like this week they were in like Champaign, Illinois.
Right.
Chicago. Yeah.
So, maybe they do have to charge more to make up for the loss of less people, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have less people.
Another point from my friend in Australia is the NFL is planning on having a game somewhere in Australia too. And he's thinking,
probably
will it be Jacksonville?
Probably.
Like, will the Jaguars go if the AEW's there? Like
Absolutely.
maybe that's how they got an in.
Absolutely. Oh, Tony Khan. Dude, man, he knows some people.
And he never sleeps. So,
Apparently. Yeah, apparently.
anyway, sorry to take things off topic.
No,
All
it's
In,
all
good
good.
show.
Yeah. The TNT title, Darby Allin versus Jack Perry, who is the champion. I don't know why I introduced Darby first. Coffin match, which I love how on our preview show, I got the card from the AEW website, and it negated to tell us that it was a coffin match. And I laugh about, like, that was the funniest thing ever. Anyway,
they also didn't tell you it was a ladder match, right? The trios titles.
Correct. We figured that out on our own.
Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing.
This match was odd to me. It was kind of a squash.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because, first of all, I heard that they cut it short because of the curfew. And it makes sense if Jack Perry is going to be challenging for the title that they have him look good. But it kind of seemed like Darby Allin got like 2 moves in, and then the rest was just him getting beaten up.
Yeah. And see, this goes back to, I've said it on here a million times, Darby Allin is the 21st century Mick Foley.
Yeah, I mean, he's good at getting beaten up. It was like that Rock match where he just got hit with a chair for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, I hate to say it, but you're right. He is very good at getting beat up. Like,
it did remind me of that Rock Mankind match where he handcuffed him and just went with the chair a bunch. Yeah.
It was just like, it was gnarly. Obviously he retains, beats Darby in quote unquote his own match.
Yeah.
Now moving forward, as you just said, Jack Perry obviously is being elevated up to the next level for the challenging for the title. Now Darby, a challenge was thrown his way for a conversation. Well, a conversation was thrown his way on Dynamite with the new and improved Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir, which I
love them together. That's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be amazing. The character that she has built on Ring of Honor, it's the character that I always thought, like, it's basically what Steve Blackman should have been.
Right.
Like, you don't need to talk. You don't need to cut a promo. Everybody knows that you're, excuse my language, the most badass person in the room.
Yeah.
And you just go to the ring and be a badass and then leave. And that's what she does. And it's incredible.
Yeah, that's good. I know Mox has always been a fan of her. Like, he talked her up on a podcast, I remember, like, last year.
Oh, really? See, it's going to be awesome because
he was on, remember when he was on Renee's podcast and he was talking about the CM Punk stuff?
Yeah.
Like, it was like 2 years ago now. The CM Punk stuff. And he talked about her up a bunch too. So yeah, that'll be that. I like them together. And I like Mox having kind of like a new attitude. I like him breaking off from the BCC. He had a different theme song.
Yeah.
Sounded really, he looked different. He walked to the ring differently. Like, it was what Jericho should have done.
I have a theory for the reason that all that happened.
All right.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Dude, if this happens, I'll pat myself on the back now. He comes to the ring and he looks Shivani dead square in the eye. And this was a different Mox promo. And Mox says, I'm just going to tell you now because you can't even remotely wrap your head around what is about to happen. This is no longer your company. Okay. Shane McMahon.
I heard people speculating on that. I don't know how it would work. Like, it would be cool, but like, I can't see Mox like answering to Shane McMahon. Can you?
I don't think he means it in that way. I think he means it's not going to be like corporation Shane McMahon. Like, Shane McMahon, I think, is going to come in as like another badass and be a part of their group.
Yeah, maybe. I could see that.
And if that is true, my God.
It's definitely something, because even the fact that he told Tony Schiavone it's not your company anymore, like, I felt like he was talking to Tony Khan through Tony Schiavone, right? Like, Tony Schiavone's just the guy in the ring. It'll be really, I want to know what's happening. Like, his whole thing was good.
Yeah.
I liked all of it.
I really.
I'm excited to be excited about Mox again.
Yeah, and we talked about this leading into the pay-per-view. I'm also excited to not really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, there's this thinly veiled hint that, no pun intended, can literally be anything.
Right. And it does sound like someone's coming, right? Like Shane McMahon or someone else. Like, it sounds like someone's coming. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be exciting.
And we can't forget, though, before we move on.
And the random Charlotte Darby Allin, like Sting, yes.
Yeah.
We forgot about Sting.
Yeah.
How could we forget about Sting? That's shameful.
It is. Well, do your thing about Darby, and then we'll get to Sting.
It's interesting that he called out Darby because they don't really have any history, right? Mox and Darby.
Correct. There's none that I can remember.
Like, I think they had a match in like the pandemic times.
Yeah.
But I don't think they had like any serious history with each other. So it's interesting that he's calling out Darby.
Right.
And Darby does have that title shot coming up.
True.
At Grand Slam. So I don't know. There's a lot going on. But anyway, Sting is awesome. Sting rules.
Yeah. What a very well done surprise.
Yeah.
Leading into All In, like, there were not even rumors, like it was known that Sting has been backstage at a couple Dynamites leading into it, and excuse me, even in WWE going into WrestleMania time of the year, everybody comes out of the woodwork, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
so it was like, oh, it was a neat little thing. So you knew he was gonna be there backstage, but I would have never in a million years guessed that freaking Sting was going to show up, even though it was for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was so cool. And knowing that AEW always has that in their back pocket, I mean, as long as he's willing to do it.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine, like, once a year you get Sting.
Right.
Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, world freaking title match. Talk about masterpiece. Swerve Strickland, the AEW champion, versus Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon. This was an absolute masterpiece, masterclass in pro wrestling. It was.
Yeah. I like legit, and this isn't like a overselling. I legit have goosebumps now thinking about it. It was so good.
Yeah, I agree. It just told such a great story in the ring. Like,
yeah.
That
you should have seen when he came out with the final countdown and the crowd was singing not just the final countdown part, but like the whole song.
Yeah.
Like the stupid grin on my face. I was so happy.
It was awesome.
It was so, like, all of it was so good. It was perfect. It was close to a perfect match as you can have a match. I think it was so good. If you said this was the greatest match ever, I would not argue with you.
It is in my top 3 now.
Yeah.
Number 1 obviously is Macho Man, Ricky Steamboat. Number 2 is Brett and Owen. Number 3 was Brett and Shawn, but I think this passes Brett and Shawn in my opinion.
I put Brett and Austin up there at WrestleMania. That's a good one. But yeah, this is good. This is a great match, and it wasn't just a great. Bryan Danielson, we've talked about it last week. Like, I'm not going to say arguably anymore. He's the best wrestler I think I've seen. Like,
agreed.
Maybe there's other wrestlers, maybe that, like Ric Flair in the 70s, maybe, I don't know. But like, he's the best wrestler I've seen, and not just wrestling. Like there's a lot of good technical wrestlers. He's a good promo. He's a good technical wrestler. He's good at making you feel emotions during Bryan Danielson matches that you shouldn't feel watching wrestling matches. Like, it's just
agreed.
It's like when he was getting kicked and like screaming "I love you" at his kids and like standing up. I was like pumped. Like, it was. I loved everything about it. Perfect match. Swerve just being a total jerk and like beating him up in front of his children. Like, all of it was such a great match. Credit to Swerve too. Like, it wasn't just Danielson. Swerve had a great match.
He did. Did you think that Brie was going to get involved?
I don't know. I like that's going to transition into the Hangman thing. Hangman coming out. I like that she didn't get involved. I like that Hangman didn't really get involved. Like he came out and got
Right.
like stopped by security. I like that because there's no excuse. You can't say Danielson lost because of it. Like Danielson won because of anybody.
True.
Right. Like he did it on his own. Yes, there was stuff happening around him, but he did it on his own. And it was still a clean one-on-one match between the two of them. I told you this before we went on the air. Like I got the result spoiled for me.
Right.
I watched the show later and I got the result spoiled for me. And I was kind of annoyed, but I kind of predicted it. So I wasn't really that upset.
Right.
But like first of all, I got it spoiled for me. And sometimes that wrecks a match for me. And that did not wreck the match for me. It was still a great match. And it kind of let me just love it. Like knowing he was going to win, being like, I want to see how it gets there. Like it was just, I don't know. Yeah. This match was wonderful.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know, like it just proves that two people can go in there and if they know what they're doing, they don't need their hands held at all. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not trying to talk negatively on like the WWE product, but sometimes things can be overproduced.
Yeah.
And just having them trusted enough to go out there and do their thing. I mean, that was a thing of beauty. That really was like, everybody says pro wrestling isn't ballet. That was ballet.
It was like
it was in perfect sync.
It was art. It was emotion. It was like obviously they're both talented wrestlers, but like it was a better level than like two guys just exchanging a lot of cool looking moves, right?
Yeah.
Like it had everything. It was a great match.
Yeah, and just I mean, of course, you know the whole stipulation if Danielson loses, he retires. Everything felt important.
Yeah.
And you know, is a fan that it's not real, but that suspension of disbelief that as a wrestling fan that you buy into and you're like, oh no, he's gonna get him.
Yeah. like I knew what was gonna happen and I still was just like, oh, the whole time. Like it was, yeah.
Now, that being said, what did you think of Danielson's promo on Dynamite?
Well, before I get to that, I wanted to shout out his son, who just refused to participate in the when he wanted to hold up both kids for the camera, and the son just wanted to grab the confetti. That was amazing. Yeah. I laughed so much. That kid rules. Awesome. I loved it.
During the press conference, when Danielson was talking about when he was like crawling to the corner and he was all bleeding, and he looked up and he said his daughter was crying, and you know, he was like, I had all these emotions going through my head. And I look over at my son and he was laughing. So he was like, it kind of came back and I was right back in the moment.
That's great.
It is.
I just love it as like a parent where you're watching it. You're like, he looks young. I don't know how old his son is. He's like 2. He looks pretty young.
Yeah.
2, 3 maybe. As a parent, you want the perfect moment and it's just not, that kid's just not going to participate. Like he's just not going to cooperate. Like there's times where like you want to take a nice family photo and the kid just won't do it. You're just like, he's just not going to do it. And trying to push him into doing it, you're just going to make him mad. So like Danielson just kind of laughed, was like, yep, that's just not going to happen. Like it was just.
That was awesome.
That was great. I loved it. And I liked his promo afterwards. It was slightly what we predicted would happen, that he said he's going to retire when he loses the belt, which is fine. Like that's a cool storyline. That's a cool angle.
Yeah.
Makes every match a bit more meaningful. I love that he had an open challenge to anybody, and somehow Jack Perry already had a video prepared in advance,
right,
to air so he can sneak attack him. Yeah, just in case. He's like, oh, I think Danielson might do this. I'm gonna record a video and just have it play
and give it to the producers. Be like, hey, if this really random specific scenario happens, make sure this airs.
And make sure it airs when I'm ready to jump in the ring and attack
him.
Yes. It was right up there with, not to jump topics, but it's right up there with Hangman spent his whole like last several months desperately trying to get his hands on Swerve, and then Swerve comes out, he's like, okay, fine, we will have a conversation. Like instead of just like, no, you've been mad at him for months, just beat him up. But they're like, no, we will agree to a stipulation and we will sign a contract. I love that. Hangman's filled with rage and Swerve's just talking to him. He's like, okay, fine, I will listen to what you have to say.
my favorite, I think my favorite moment, and whoever was the producer of the gauntlet match, whenever they had the cameraman on Hangman for the pin, and whenever they hit 3, he just went like instant rage.
Yeah.
I was like, that producer deserves like a raise, because Hangman's instant rage face was amazing.
I love this gimmick for him. I love it because
Yes.
when it started, it was when Swerve broke into his house, it started off as Hangman being the good guy and Swerve being the bad guy.
Right.
And then the fans kind of just gravitated towards Swerve, and Swerve kind of explained it as, oh, I had to do that because that otherwise I wasn't going to get recognized. So that's my way of getting noticed. But like now it's kind of just like he's kind of going a bit too far. He's like, well, there was no need for him to beat up Danielson in front of his kids. He was already in the match. That was unnecessary. Now he's just being a jerk. And now you're just like, oh, now was Hangman right this whole time? Swerve is just a jerk, right? Like it's
true.
There's layers. It's good.
Oh, it's so good.
So what do you think of Danielson and Jack Perry? People are, you'll be surprised to hear that the internet is mad.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, the internet.
This is the perfect time to have, I don't want to say wild card matches for people to elevate them, but you know, these next Danielson matches are, the next couple are at least going to be pretty predictable. He's going to win them.
Yeah, he's not going to immediately retire like 2 weeks after he won the title. Yeah.
Right. So it's going to elevate Jack Perry.
It can't be a bad match because it's against Bryan Danielson.
Right. And it's also going to help the TNT title.
Yeah. And I was thinking it's the perfect time to have him be in it because he's definitely going to get booed because not only is he going against Danielson, but it's in Chicago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
He's definitely going to get booed. Like the problem I always have with Jack Perry's gimmick is it's the anti-CM Punk gimmick, which works, but like AEW fans, at least the most vocal AEW fans, are against CM Punk. So wouldn't that make them for Jack Perry? So shouldn't he be the good guy? But like that's not going to be an issue in Chicago. So that'll be fun. Yeah, and you're right. Like it's going to be a predictable match, but like that's fine. It's better to have a predictable match against someone who like you would never think Jack Perry was going to win this title. So why not do it now when like it's predictable and let them have fun.
Right. And I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Who do you think Swerve gets the title back? And if not, who do you think dethrones and retires Danielson?
I think Swerve does it. I think they do it.
Same here.
In the Wrestle Dream show in Washington, I think Swerve. There's a train of thought that it should be Nigel McGuinness who retires him, but Nigel McGuinness isn't going to be AEW champion. So
yeah, like
unless Swerve fights him and then he does one more match against McGuinness or something. But I think Swerve is when it gets it back.
Yeah, Nigel hasn't confirmed or denied that he's a full-time wrestler yet.
Yeah,
but I also don't think that they're gonna let him leave his commentary position on Collision because he's really good at that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're gonna give it to a part-timer is what I was getting at. So yeah, I think Swerve, excuse me, and then maybe down the line have a Nigel McGuinness match, but I don't think he retires Danielson.
No.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Swerve.
Yeah. But before we go, what do you give the pay-per-view out of 10?
It's hard because a lot of people were saying it was the best show they've seen. I don't think it's the best AEW show I've seen. The Danielson Swerve match was great. The Mariah May Tony Storm match was up there. They were great. Fun show. None of it was, like I said before, none of it was disappointing. None of it was dull. I loved every part of it. It's one of my favorite AEW shows. I still think my favorite is Full Gear 2021. I think that was my favorite AEW show. That's when Hangman won the belt.
Okay.
That's probably my favorite AEW show, but like this is up there. Out of 10, 9.5, 9 or 9.5. It was good.
Yeah, same. I agree with that. it was a fun show. It gave me those fun feelings to be a fan again. Like I was excited. Yeah. I couldn't wait for the next match. Like one match would end, I was ready for the, like, you know, it wasn't like, oh, this is now, you know, like I was ready.
Like WrestleMania in that sense, where it was like the matches were good, the matches were important, but like it was also just like a celebration of the show and wrestling and the wrestlers, and like it was fun. Like I said at the beginning, it was a fun show. It was enjoyable to watch. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I agree. Before we go, do you have any final words, my friend?
No, I'm good. We went long. I feel like it was good. There's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, moving forward, don't forget to follow us at Elite City Pod on all social media, including YouTube. We're now there, so smash our like button, please.
And comment if you're on a platform that allows commenting, like YouTube or Spotify.
Yeah.
Comment
and hit that bell. I've been waiting to say that.
There you go.
Ding ding, hit the bell.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everyone once again that I won. I'm the reigning champion.
Yeah, he's the reigning champion.
Contest. Just keep letting Biddy miss the shows, and then I can keep that title.
I'm not good at that. I'm just not.
I think you just pick on what would be the coolest ending for a match.
I go with my
necessarily what you think is going to happen. Yeah.
I go with my heart 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because then it'll always, if I win, that means it's a perfect show for me.
Right.
Yeah. At Elite City Pod everywhere. Give us a follow. Interact with us. We'll interact back. That's all this week. So, you know, everybody enjoy your weekend, and we will see
All Out preview next week.
Another preview. So
there you go.
Yeah, we'll see you next week with the All Out preview. So until then, later.